dive, our Q&A is going to be setting up year-end tasks. And then, as always, we're going to open up the floor for any and all double questions to dig in and get a little nerdy with everybody today. If we are new faces, or you have just seen our business and not us actually in, I was going to say real life, but this is as close as we can all get from wherever we're at. So if you are new to us, we started Hughes and Strong simply because we love to nerd out on systems. And this was the stuff that we were doing to avoid our actual work. So we just decided, let's just do this. Let's just specialize. We love all things about systems, workflows, how do we get things organized, especially because everybody is different. And that is cliche. And I know it's cheesy, but truly and honestly, everybody comes to us with a different question, with a different troubleshooting, with a different way that they operate their business or a different phase of their business. So, good Lordy, we love being able to just sink in and figure out what's going to work for the person in front of us. Right now, we are specializing in double. So we get to be your double librarians where you get to ask us all the questions about all of the things, and we probably know most of them. I won't guarantee that we know all of them, but we get to be the people that keep track of all of the updates and all of the little bits and bobs and how the community is using it. So we are really excited to share with you today. All right,
Before we
this
dive
being
in, let's
said,
do a little housekeeping. Yeah, Erica, go ahead.
okay, couple of housekeeping items, and then I will pass it over and not hog the mic. So, couple of housekeeping. First and foremost, you have probably heard us say this before if you have come back to these, but I'm going to make sure that we all anchor in. Don't shit on yourself. This is not the place to take this big concept of double and how we do year end and put extra pressure on yourself. It is the end of the year. We are all just trying to survive and get to the holidays and then get past the holidays and get past 1099 season. So this is survival mode for most of us. This does not have to be a call where you take a page of notes and then you have to spend all weekend getting double set up perfectly. No. No, no, no. So these are all for inspiration. These are all to take ideas that land and something that glimmers and sparkles and write it down for yourself. This is not the call to get off and feel bad about how you are using double. So I'll get off my soapbox now, but be careful about where you're adding extra pressure and don't shit on yourself because we're not shitting on you. Cool?
Yes, yes, love that. Um, this is an open Q&A. We are going to do a deep dive on setting up those year-end tasks, but please drop your questions into the chat at any point during our call. We will make sure that we go through all of them by the end of the call, but you don't have to wait until the official Q&A opens at the end after we do the deep dive. Please drop those in the chat at any point, and we will make sure that we will cover them during our time together today.
We are also going to post the recording of today's call. So if you need to hop off at any point or you realize, ooh, I should pass this along to a friend or a coworker or anything like that, all those will be updated on Friday and then we'll send them out to anybody that registered for today.
And with that, today we are going to deep dive on how to organize year-end tasks. We'll show you how to create and apply a year-end template, as well as creating tasks and client lists to monitor the progress of those year-end tasks. And then, like we've always said, we'll open up for a Q&A at the end with literally anything about Double. So any feature that you're curious about, anything that you're running into issues with that you want to troubleshoot together, we are here. You can pick our brains and we will help you come up with a solution. Let's dive in. So, getting started with trying to approach your year-end tasks. If you already have a list that you like to use, fantastic. But if you don't have that yet, here's a couple of ideas for you. You can just brain dump items that you're worried about forgetting. Getting that down somewhere is a great starting point. Another optional thing you can do is look into some additional resources. Ask some of your peers. You can check out the community templates inside of Double. You can also check in with the industry communities. We've got a few listed here, and even some of the bookkeeping courses that are out there as well have year-end examples or inspiration for things that you can do at year-end to help close out the books and help them to become tax ready.
And I think this is a really important one to take an extra 30 seconds on and just remember that, like, we kind of mentioned this at the beginning of the call, but truly and honestly, just brain dumping the stuff that you're worried about forgetting is enough. Um,
Mhm.
so just want to make sure that there is space for that to be okay and you to schedule sometime after all the craziness to evaluate what worked, what we forgot off that list, and build it out. A lot of us that have been in business for a while, that list goes through iterations. Our first year and year end, very different from where we're at now. Okay, so give yourself space to evolve over time. We just want to reduce that threshold of feeling like you have to have the perfect year end this year when it's already the 17th. So, at minimum, brain dump the stuff that you're overwhelmed about. Look at your list from last year. And if you have time or there are other things that you want to just kind of browse to see if there's anything you're missing, you absolutely can.
Mhm. And as one of our optional resources here that we mentioned is double community templates. And we do have a screenshot of one that In Focus Bookkeeping posted to the double community templates. So this is what that looks like. It's available there. When we switch over to the demo, we'll show you where you can find community templates. But this is a great example.
Alrighty, so before we get into the nitty-gritty of how to create a template and the all of the bits and bobs about how to create this, we've got a couple of decisions that we need to at least think through on the front end before we go in so that we don't have to like redo everything once we get in there. Okay, so first decision we need to think about is which section we're going to put these in. And we do have some examples coming up, but high level, do we want to go ahead and just use the default general section that's up at the very top of the client pages? Just use that. Go ahead and add our tasks into there, use an existing default section. Or do we want to add a new custom section? So that'll also fall at the top of the page, but we could label this our annual tasks and have a collection of things like 1099 and payroll things and maybe sales tax things. Or do we want to call something year end specifically and it's all of our closing items? Okay, so that's our first decision is where do we want these to land, which section? And then we need to think about how we want to break these tasks down. Are we somebody who likes to have an individual task for each item that we're going to do so that we get that dopamine hit of I checked this off and I'm seeing that list shrink? Or are we somebody that gets overwhelmed with having a whole page of year-end tasks? And we may want to shorten and condense some of those and put checklist items. So maybe we have a broader, like more general task that has checklist items broken down. Okay, so let's get into some examples so we can show the visual aspect of what that might look like.
Yeah. So here's a great example of just using the general section, the one that's default that comes with default in double here. And in this example, we've also shown that you have the option to throw on a tag. So we've got a year end tag here to designate that these are year end. And to make it easier for our eyes to pick out those. You'll also be able to, if you are using tags, you'll be able to filter this list by that tag to consolidate what you're looking at. So here's a great example of just using the general, but then also using another feature in double as well with those tags.
And I think that's if we are going to use the general section and we're like, man, I don't want to add another section or get super complicated. I just want to use what's already existing. This can make it to where we can, like Jody said, filter that down or at least visually see what we need to be focusing on, which I think is really helpful when we're using a section that can have a whole lot of miscellaneous stuff in there.
Another example here is having a custom section. So this custom section is called annual tasks. One thing that this firm has done, and this answers Lisa's question that she popped into the chat already. She said, if creating custom sections, can we designate that section to only appear in the month of December? No, we are not able to do that automatically. That is something we have to do manually, but you can show or hide sections at any point. So this firm, and shout out to Book to Balance for sharing this template with us. They have a task scheduled to repeat every January 1st to unhide this custom section. And then best practices for this firm is once all of these year-end annual tasks are complete, they hide the section again. And then next January, they'll get that reminder to unhide it, and all of these tasks are here ready to repeat. Um, so that is another option, a kind of a creative workaround to where you're not having this custom section show all year round, but you've got your reminder to make sure that it does populate when you need it.
And just to circle back, Lisa, I'll see in the background while we're going through some of these examples if I can find a feature request. If you don't see one or you don't see me pop one in on your comment here in Zoom, definitely add that because that's a really great feature request so that we
Yes.
can kind of set when we want these to show or hide, and we have one less manual step and one less task that we have to
Yeah,
manage.
it's a great idea. Here's an
Alrighty,
example.
so
Go ahead, Erica. I just got tongue-tied.
it's all good. Here's where we start to shift over to separating out tasks, right? So if you are more prone to visual overwhelm or you are a small, scrappy team, this may be beneficial to break these down into a couple of different areas, like a couple of different tasks, and then we can have checklists on them as well. And those checklists update, the fraction updates as we complete them. So as you start to see, like I've checked one of those five off, that will update. So this can be helpful because you can still see the progress overall on that task, but you don't have a whole page full of tasks on for year end. And then this is an example where we're talking about those multiple tasks, right? So we have one task per action that we need to take or kind of thing like that. This can be more helpful if we have a larger team or we are delegating. Because one of the things, Jody, will you go back a page for me? If we are setting up these kind of condensed tasks, I can only assign this task to one person as it stands in double right now. Okay, so that may be a limitation that we run into where that may be the tipping point where we decide, actually, I do want this to be separate tasks so that I can separate out my admin does some of them, my preparer does some of them, my manager does some of them. Or if you want to be able to play with those due dates a little bit more
Mhm.
customized or not have to reschedule those, that is an option that you can take here. So neither is a right or wrong. You might play with something this year and decide, I hate that for next year and I'm going to do it a different way, but at least kind of vibe out what that initial gut reaction for you is on either option and pick a starting choice to get started for this year.
And once you've picked where you want these tasks to live and how you want to create your tasks, now's the time to jump into that template manager and create a template. This is also a great place where you can play around with how you want to have it set up without it being live in a client yet. So you can use your template manager as a playground and work at it a couple different ways, see which way feels the best, and then use that template moving forward. So this is a safe place to kind of brain dump and play around with it to till you get it the way you'd like. So you're going to navigate to your template manager, click on New Template, so it's that little plus button here, and then you're going to add a custom task area. From there, you'll select which section you want it to be in. Once you've got that section added to your template, you can begin adding those tasks. From there, up to you. You could also add in tags at the template level. You can assign users or roles to those tasks as well, and the recurring due dates. All of those are available within the template to be able to do that ahead of time so that when you drop it into the client, there's less work to do to fine tune those at the client level.
Exactly. And like we said, those are completely optional. This is not something that you have to set up in the template, but setting those up here allows us to roll it out with all of that information plugged in. So there's less individual clicks that we need to make on the client page. So where you can definitely utilize the template for a lot of those bulk actions, if you
Mhm.
know you're going to add the same tag to those tasks in every single client, let's just add them here so that when we drop them in, there's one less thing that we need to set up.
Same thing for the users and roles. If it's the same person, regardless of the client that's doing that task, you can go ahead and assign it to that specific person. But if it's more of a role situation, so maybe it's the preparer doing certain tasks and managers or reviewers doing other tasks, you can assign the role. And then if somebody is plugged into that role already, when you drop it in, it'll auto assign it to that user. Nice little shortcut so that you can get things rolled out faster with less manual work.
Exactly.
And once you do have that template set up and you're ready to go, you'll click on Apply to Clients, select the clients you want to go with. You can do one, you can do all, you can pick and choose, and then click that Apply button and it will drop that in for you.
And this is one to note that the tasks will drop in exactly as they are in the template. Some people get confused about like, how is it going to drop in or what section? The way that you set it up in the template is exactly how it's going to be for the
Mhm.
client. So if there's something that you're going to need to fill in on the client level that is client specific, maybe you want it for that client name or something like that, we can put in brackets or parentheses in those task names so that when we get it into the client, we can kind of customize. So just wanted to give you that heads up as well.
Yep.
Now, I think one of the other things to note is obviously we're going to see these tasks on the client page when we're working on it. But if we are higher up in the organization and needing that bird's eye view and to be able to keep track of where we're at progress wise, to either see the task coming up or be able to see the overdue year-end tasks or anything like that, our task list can be filtered to show just those year-end tasks. So regardless of whether you use the general section and you filter by the tag year-end, or if you're using your own custom annual tag section or your own year-end section, you can filter by that as well. And we can stack filters as well if we need to. So that's our main filtering. We'll kind of show this when we get into the demo portion, but this view can be saved so that we can have it in a drop-down to be able to every once in a week or kind of double check as we want to make sure what we still have left or what we may need to help our team out with if we're seeing one client is rather behind. We can also create a similar view, less on the specific detailed task side and more on the I want to see the overarching progress side using our client list. So again, this is one that we can show in our demo, but ultimately this is we can shorten or hide the columns that don't relate to year end. So we're just focusing in on those key things like vendor requests, the year end column or tasks, and overarching close progress to see kind of where we're at with that year end close and then those specific tasks as well. So this is kind of our version of, hey, I want to keep track of our tasks across all clients. So I'm not having to go into each and every client and look at that year end section. And then I also want to be able to see overarching progress to see where we're at and if there's any team members or clients that are a little bit more behind that we need extra help on.
And with that, let's go ahead and dive into the demo. Please go ahead and start dropping your questions into the chat. Again, it can be about year-end tasks, what we just covered, or it could be about anything else in Double. So here we go. Let me switch over to our demo. Erica, where would you like to start?
Ooh, good question. Okay, so let's go ahead and start with the templates themselves. Do a quick little preview of there on just kind of live where people can find those buttons, as well
Mhm.
as how to find the community template if you want to start from a
Yes.
little bit of an inspiration point. Let's start there,
Okay.
and then I have a couple other queued up for you.
Excellent. Okay. So templates right here at the top. Now, if you have your screen shortened and you don't have the words up here, look for those little squares. Oftentimes when our view changes, some of the words and buttons look a little bit different. But you'll just click on templates to navigate to your template manager. Template Manager is going to overlay on whatever page you're in. So if you're on a client page, you can get to your Template Manager from there as well, and it'll overlay on top, just like this. But I can search for a template if I already have something built out. If I am curious about the community templates and what other people have shared to the community, that's going to be right here at the bottom, this browse community. And Double has set it up. All right, if it'll let me browse today. I was just in it earlier. There we go. They have categories set up here on the side as well. So if you're looking for something specific, our example here was year end, you can click on that and see what people have published in that category. So this is the one that we showed an example of in our screenshots there.
And it's pretty easy if you look through, you can either kind of take inspiration from, or you can copy it to firm. That means I want to add it to my own template library so I can edit and customize from there. So
Preview.
clicking on it
Yeah.
and then top button if you want to play around with it yourself.
Yeah. And here, if you do copy one, it'll ask you where you want things to be moved to. So if somebody has used a general section or they've used a custom section, you don't have something that looks the same, you can map it here and pick from your sections where you want that information to get dropped into.
Yeah, really good mention there.
Yeah.
And then, Jody, if you'll go to just any template, we can create a new one if you'd like to. But I do want to show how to select all clients if we want to drop, like apply to all clients. That's one that a lot of people miss that button because it's really light, and I want to make sure that we highlight that.
Yeah. Let's go ahead and show we're adding a new custom section down here. It adds that there. I can then select from my custom sections, which one do I want? Apply. And we're going to do a double whammy here with showing that example and answering Kate's question.
Nice,
So
beautiful. That
Kate
was the
had a
next one I had
question.
queued up.
Yep. Kate had a question already about how does it look or work when you put a client name in brackets in the template to show how that then gets applied to the client and what will happen there. So we'll just do sample task 4. And then what we usually do is you put in a bracket client name here. What this does is this flags you as the user to update this. This is not going to this is not going to automatically update. This is not like within our emails, we have those merge tags where if we select the merge tag, then when that email goes out, it uses the corresponding thing, whether it's client's first name, client name, or company name. This is not that. This is just internal. It's a flag for yourself to update this, and it protects the task from being overwritten if you're adding client specific details to it. So sample task here for client name. Um, Build out your template however you wish. When you're ready, you come up to apply to clients. From here, you can select any of the clients you would like to. I'm just going to select one here. You can click this box to select as many as you want. You can also filter this list. If you have a considerable number of clients, and you don't want to just scroll through or tab through all of the different ones, you can filter some of these down. So you look for that little filter button and you can filter what you're seeing here to be
Or
able to
search
then
clients
select
as
all.
well.
Yep, you can also search up here as well. So different ways of going about finding the ones you want. Once you've selected them, you will come down and click apply to. It's going to give you the total number that you've selected. So that's another little double check if you've gotten the right number there. So we'll go ahead and apply this so that we can see what that looks like, what this task looks like at the client level.
And Jody, before you move off of that, I'm
Yeah,
actually going to answer one other question while we're here,
sure.
or share a tip. Claire had an amazing tip here that is a great general reminder that we can duplicate and create different variations for this if we want to. So,
Yes.
really good example that's more tangible is I can create a year end, and then I can create a year end with payroll, or I can do kind of different Think about it like Lego blocks that can either stack on top of each other, or maybe you do different tasks at year end for different service tier levels. So maybe my like monthlies, I do one thing, my quarterlies, I do a little bit less or have different reports. You can absolutely create a duplicate here. Now, one, and Jody, you might be about to explain this as well, but when we hit duplicate, we have two options. So I want to explain those really quickly. The top option is essentially like I want to duplicate this within my own template library system versus the second option being I want to publish or duplicate this to the community template at large, which is where we showed that other community template for everybody to use. So sometimes that wording can get a little bit confusing for people. So just wanted to highlight that as well as Claire's tip. I love that you popped that in. And that can also provide a really good option to create different variations or create some that have client specifics in them or some that have like state tax for Colorado versus California in there as well if there are state specific differences.
Yeah, absolutely. Anything else here before we move off of the template manager?
Not that I can tell. We might circle
Okay.
back, but not at this
Okay.
point.
We can always circle back. All right. So
Oh,
what,
I lied. I
yes,
just, as soon as I said that, I had something else pop up in my brain. Isn't that how it goes?
it
One
always,
other thing, I have seen some people do a year-end template that also includes a couple of client questions. So could
mm,
include client questions for requesting specific documents or requesting who their CPA is so that you can forward over information. So in the same way that we added a custom section for our tasks, we can absolutely add client question area to be able to drop some non-transaction questions into that client portal at the same time that we drop our own tasks internally in. So just wanted to call that out
mhm,
in case that provides a little bit of inspiration or in case you were curious about that, that can live all within the same template as well.
yes. One caveat to that is questions that are in a template, that's a one-time drop into the client portal. It is not a space where we can create reoccurring questions. So
Mhm.
keep that in mind if you are creating your year-end checklist here, and you are going to drop this in once. You've got all of your dates to recur annually. The questions, if you are adding questions that come in for an annual thing, they're not going to recur unless you set them up at the client level to recur. So just a little side note there that the templates here, the questions in the templates are a one-time drop straight into the portal.
Yep. And answering Mary's question very quickly before we get back to Kate, I know we're having you hold your breath for a second.
Mhm.
While I believe the answer is no here, but Jody, just make
Oh
sure that I'm
no,
thinking about this right. If we add oh, can you attach a document to a template? And I want to make
no,
sure we're answering both from the task level and the client question. I believe both are no.
both are
Okay,
no. Yep, we
beautiful.
cannot add
Uh,
attachments within templates at this time. I know for a fact that there are feature requests out there for that. Lots and lots and lots of people would like to have the ability to attach a document in a template so that it drops in everywhere. Unfortunately, we do not have that capability today. Workarounds that we've seen is if you have a link to a document. So if that link is, if you have a Google
Google
Drive
Drive.
that you're using, you can get a link to a PDF or a link to a document there. You can put the link in here somewhere, but the actual attachment itself, unfortunately, no, we are not able to use those in our templates.
Really good question, Mary. Okay, back
Yes.
to Kate's.
All right. Let's jump into custom growth custom. That's where I dropped this template into, and we'll see that task. Got it. Not letting me clear today. There we go. So here is our sample task that we created, and it says for client name. Once I have it in here, I can come into the client and update that. So that is how that would work. From here, I can add any client-specific details that I would want to for this client. And then why we might do this. If we add and fine tune and tweak a templated task at the client level, we want to protect that information. We want to protect the client specific details. If we were to go back to our templates and update it, so I'm going to show that here. And this is another way that you can get to your template manager. If you're in a client page, you click on the menu at the top, not the house. Click over here on the little caret to expand the menu. Click on templates, and you're able to pull up that template manager. From here, if I'm editing a template that I already have, and I want to add something to this, I can add a description, and then I can reapply this template to my client. And I'm going to go ahead and do this exercise and show you what happens. Since I changed the name from the bracket to my actual client name, the task at the client level is now protected. So any details that I put in there are going to stay there. And the updated version of the task will drop in. It will not overwrite. If the task name had remained exactly the same, then it would have overwritten my client specific details.
This is really helpful if you want to go ahead and add. I'm trying to give a couple of examples because that
Yeah.
can like be a little bit hard to contemplate. Really good example here is if you go ahead and add the client like link for their specific like Dropbox folder, or they have a unique way that you're going to have to go pull that year-end payroll report or something like that. That may be different client to client, so we may not want to put that in our whole entire like master template. That may be something that we want to add in this custom client task. But if we reapply that template, we don't want that to get overwritten and lose all the work we just did. So that's a really good tangible example here.
We're doing live testing here. Make sure this is still functioning the way it has always
This
functioned in
works
the
the way we
past.
want it to. Yep.
Yeah. Click OK. It's going to refresh and drop that in. And if you were watching, I updated the task to include client-specific details in the description, but did not change the actual task name. And you will see here that my client-specific note is gone and it only shows the updates. So that's what we're trying to prove here is that if I update my template, but I didn't update the name at the client level, it's going to overwrite it. So I had in here earlier client specific details or something like that. I updated my template, reapplied it, and only what was in the template is shows here. So adding that little name or adjusting your task name in some way helps protect the information in there. If you then update processes and drop them back in, you won't lose that information.
And that's one of those that honestly, if that started feeling overwhelmed or like Charlie Brown's teacher, let it go out of your
We can move
brain.
on.
Yeah, exactly. That's one of those I don't want people to get caught on, but it's really helpful if you know deep in your bones you're going to have client specific stuff and you are worried about overwriting it. That's a quick tip that we have is to add the client name so it changes the task name so that when you reapply it, it does not see it as the same task. So again, let that go out of your brain if that got you really confused, but there for anybody that wants it.
Yes.
Really good question here from Kate, just kind of adding on. So if you applied a year-end template to a client and then you made those custom edits once you're in the client, will the custom edits recur every year? So I think that's a really good one to note here.
Yes. And the answer is going to be yes, if you set that task to reoccur. So far, all of the tasks that we've been talking about are ones that drop here into this custom section. With custom tasks, if we want them to reoccur, we have to set them up to do that. So you have to click repeat, set it to recur however often. So if we're doing these annual tasks, we'll set them to recur yearly. And then any changes that you make to this task, will occur on the next iteration. So it will carry over, it will stay, and it will only affect this client. Once a template is dropped into the client, if you make changes at the client level, it's not going to go back to the template. Okay, so it'll stay here at your client level.
And vice versa, actually. So if you make, like, if you were to drop this in and next year you make edits or changes, or you go back and you're like, oh, fudge, I forgot something, that's not going to automatically apply to our clients. So I just want to make sure that we all
Hmm.
understand that templates and the tasks that it drops into our client are separate once we apply it. So any changes we make in one or the other are going to stay there. And definitely a good call out to like reach out to us if you are like making edits to your workflow from last year and you're getting confused or you don't want to create a little bit of a cleanup process. Definitely reach out. That's something we're happy to have a little brainstorming call with you and just make sure before you hit apply. That can be kind of nerve-wracking if you're like,
Yeah.
I don't want to mess this up. Just reach out to us. That's easy stuff for us to help with. Okay. Beautiful. Okay, so while we are here, actually, Jody, do you mind doing a little showcase on how we can show and hide that year-end section? We talked about that we can do it, but I want to make sure everybody knows where that button
Yeah.
actually exists.
So I'm gonna collapse everything so that we can see high level instead of all of the details of the tasks. So we already have it shown right here, year-end tasks. Maybe we've finished our year-end. We're good to go. Maybe it's February or March and we don't need this anymore. Over here on the three dots, you can click there to hide the section. It'll give you some options whether you want to delete tasks, move tasks, or leave them in there, but understand that it's going to be hidden. For this particular use case, that's what we're going to choose. I want to keep those tasks in this section and I want them to continue to reoccur annually, but I don't need to see it all year round. So I'm going to keep the tasks where they are and know that they're hidden. And then come time again for us to be able to do year end, we would then click on show hidden sections here, find that section that we wanted, click those three dots again, and make section visible. That's going to bring it back up here to where everybody can see it, ready to go. We've got our tasks built in and we can work through them.
Yep, and really good call out here that this is client specific. Okay,
Yes.
so this is really cool in a lot of ways because if I don't have payroll for this client, I can hide that section and that will show up month over month. I don't have to re-hide that section. Now, that does mean that while I'm working on each client, that I will have to do the same process. I will try to find a feature request because I'm sure that it is out there to be able to hide or show sections across multiple clients. And that would be amazing at this time of year if we
Yes.
couldn't automatically set it to show or hide in December or March, then can I at least do it across multiple clients at once? So that is a feature request I will either find or create for all of us, but just wanted to make sure that that's really clear that if you show or hide, that is just for this client. Because I know that a lot of us have gotten programmed that sections are sticky across clients, right? If you delete one, it's going to delete across clients, but that hide and show is client specific.
One fun fact, at least last time I tested it, this was what happened, is if I created the year-end task or a custom section, and I created a template for that section, but I had that section hidden across all clients. When I apply the template to the client, the section automatically showed visible. So when you're initially setting this up, that was kind of a fun thing I discovered. And again, last time I tested it, that's what happened. So hopefully that's still the case. But that way I could just apply the template across and bring that section visible for the clients I needed to apply it to.
Yeah, so definitely worth testing on like a sample client or your own business if it's in double, just to do a quick double check. But that could be a way to make yourself have one less step if you want to, if you already have that section hidden, then applying that template could open it up for you so you have one less click there. So really cool tip there, Jody.
Yeah.
Alrighty, I don't see any other questions at this point. We are getting to kind of the end of our chat today. Before we start doing kind of wrap up and any last question call and stuff like that, let's at least quickly show a client list and task list just to make sure that we cover that. But this is not to say don't ask any more questions. If you have other questions, definitely drop them in.
Okay. And there's one other thing I want to highlight today because I'm very excited about it.
Yes.
That's been within our recent updates. So, here was an example of that year-end task list view, saved view. So we've got this sorted by the section, and we can see from your task list, if you're not familiar with this, you can click on it to open it up and see what the checklist is if there's one underneath it. So that's another way you can kind of peruse through to see where people are in the process. Anything else you want to highlight here, Erica?
Um, they're shown right now, but could you just go to the default and show which button you're going to click to filter down to the tag? We don't necessarily need to do a whole
Yeah.
example, but I at least want to show and make sure that's comfortable because these buttons look a little bit different.
Yep. Yep. All of our tables got some upgrades recently. So now it's like this little triangle here, where you can filter down or sort, and you can search in there as well. So if you've got a lot building in here, you can shortcut it by starting to type, and then select what you want, and that's in the section. Same thing, same process for your tags. If you're using tags, you can do that here as well.
Absolutely. And these do stack. So if you are using an annual section that's a little bit more broad, or the general section that is a little bit more broad, you can filter it down to that section and then filter it down even further to that tag. Or we
Yep.
can also add on a due date if we want to see our overdue year-end tasks. So all of these can kind of stack and add on to each other to essentially use double as your executive assistant and be like, don't show me all of everything ever. This is too much. I just want to see my year-end tasks that are for this person or that are for this client or that are overdue or, however you want to think about this. With anything here on this page, once you get your filters set up, then you can hit that save view button here in the middle, title it whatever you would like to, and you can save it as a firm wide so everybody in your team can see it, or a private view if it's just something that you're going to look at over and over again, just so you don't have to remember all of the buttons that I clicked last time to get this view set up.
And like I said, we've gotten a lot of upgrades, reformatting in this tab, as well as some on our client list that I'm going to highlight. We used to have quick filters over here on the side. If you're wondering where those went, they're right here in the middle now. So your dates are going to be here from this drop down. Your quick filters, now called special filters, are going to be here in this drop down. Took us a little bit to find those as they first rolled out, but that's where they are now, so you guys are aware. Real quick, while we're here on the task list, Mary asked, how do you add a tag? Wherever you are when you're at the task level, you can click this little tag button and then choose the tag from there.
Yep. So whether
If
you
you
are on
were
the
to
here
click
and
here,
you
it'll
click
do the
on
same
that,
thing.
yeah, exactly. Really good call out there that you can do this from wherever you're at. So the task list, you can click on that task and add a tag. If you're on the client page, you can look for that same little like discount tag looking logo. Or if you're in the template, you can also add a tag at that point and have it roll out when you drop the template in.
Here from your client list page,
Ooh,
when you're
that's new to
looking at
me. I like
them,
it.
you should be able, yep, you can add tags from here as well.
So, Mary, short answer, basically everywhere, look for that little discount tag logo. That's where you're going to
Yeah.
find those. Oh, now that is how to add a tag. We did not answer how to create a tag, which was probably your actual question. So that was rude. Let's go
Yes.
up to the settings and make sure we know how to add a new tag. Glad I
All right,
caught
so
that.
practice settings. Yep, practice settings up here in the cog there. You're going to go to workflows, scroll to the bottom, task tags down here under the global settings. This is our demo. We got a lot in here that we troubleshooted for
Don't
people.
have this many. It's
No.
ridiculous, but
But
play
right here, you click
options.
task tags and you
And
can
Kate,
add
this is
whatever you
one of
wish.
the very few areas in Double that I do not see that like reorder hamburger stack. So I will
Nope,
look for a feature request on
it's
that so
out
we can
there.
all upvote.
Yep, it's out there. Real quick before we go into our wrap up, did you want me to show the client list one, or can I highlight my favorite new feature that I'm already showcasing?
The only thing that I would just kind of make sure that there's a parallel on is that the same sort of filtering that we can do on the task list, we can do on our client list as well. So same thing applies. Don't get yourself lost too much. How we show the different columns or hide the ones that we're like, this does not pertain. I do not want this information is that table icon, right? So it kind of looks like in a little Excel table. And then this does not delete or remove any columns completely from your account. It's just what do I want to show on this view? Then once you have it configured the way that you want to, you can absolutely hit Save View. Okay, Jody, I saw you. What you got?
Okay, so this is my new feature. I already have it turned on. So tell me, does the table look a little different from what you're used to?
Oh my
This
gosh,
is the
that's way less
default.
overwhelming. Yeah, let's show
This is the
default in
default.
comparison.
All right, so your default, you're going to have numbers in every single box. Green means that everything is good to go, or it's empty, one or the other. White means that it's on time. Red means that it's late. Orange means it's due today. This is the default. My favorite new feature that it was recently released is coming up here to special features and turning on display incomplete tasks only. Look at how it changes this view. You got all the things in the background. You get this. This is way less overwhelming. You can drill down very, very fast on what's incomplete. Okay, so I know that we've got 4 tasks here. Still, the color coding is the same. This is not overdue. There's no dates on this one. These are showing overdue. This one's due today. All of that still applies, but it eliminates all of those zeros so that your brain can just go straight to what you need to look at or what you might need to review. So this is like I said, my favorite new feature
Oh
is to
my
be able to
goodness.
simplify this client list.
This just made my day. This is lovely, especially for those of us that are lower on the visual overwhelm, as in it takes us way less to be like, "Ooh, I don't know what I'm looking at here," and have to do extra processing. So this is one that I will be using on my own personal client list for sure. I love that
And
you called that out.
this is a feature that you can just turn on or turn off. It's not something that you have to turn on and then resave all of your saved views. If you have it turned
Oh,
on,
cool.
whatever saved view you go to, it will remain there.
That's also pretty cool that depending on team members' personal preference, they could have it turned on or off
Yep.
depending on how they like it as well. So really,
Yep.
really good call out there.
Yeah.
Kate, I do see your question. So let me go ahead and answer that one really quickly, Jody, and then we can switch over to wrap up
Okay.
because that's the last one. So um, there is a little bit of clarifying that we need to do here just to make sure we're all talking about the same thing. But Kate's question is, if you set sections to recur, if they were hidden, will they automatically be visible when they repeat? So clarifier here, sections cannot be set to recur, tasks can. So
Yes.
really important thing there. That is one of the questions that we got earlier actually is like, can we set this to like show or hide at a specific time of the year? It would be amazing. Not currently built into Double. So Kate, now with that context, those tasks will recur. I want to be careful about how I say this. So when we hide the section, we have some options that pop up. If we, um, yes, beautiful.
This is a hidden section. So
Mhm.
right here, hidden sections are down below. I do have my reoccurring tasks in here. So the tasks
Yeah,
will still reoccur, but if it's hidden, you're not going to see it. So that's why in our example, we had one in a section that's always visible. We had a reminder to unhide this one. So
that
if you're going to
section.
hide something manually, I would have a reminder task in a section that's always present to go in and unhide it. Because when this comes due, it's not automatically going to be visible. It will
Unhide
remain
itself.
hidden
Mhm.
until you manually come here and say, show visible.
Yeah, at least as it currently stands, this could
Yes.
change, but at least want to give you the current context that I would love it, but right now we can't set that to recur or like set that frequency for when it shows and hides. We can set those tasks to recur, but those are separate processes. So really important there. Actually, while we're there, I don't want to add too much time here, but if you will just add a sample task real quick. You don't have to add a name. I want to show a quick example of how we can tell quickly if a task is set for a one-time or a recurring. There's an icon here that makes it really, really easy. So just want to help show that. If we click repeat, so we are setting up a recurring task. So this means it will populate again and again after it's checked off. The quick tip that I have is you can hover and that will show you the repeating frequency. But my quick hack that I do while I'm just scanning the page is, does that task have a calendar in front of it or like a little recycling circle in front of it, letting you know that it's going to come over and over again? Now, the important thing is some people do it each way, so there's not a right or wrong here. Some people would rather add the tasks, set them one time for this year, because I may change my template next year. So I only want this to be the 2025 task, and then I'll reapply that template for next year. So I'm only setting the task for one time. There's others of us that are like, dude, I just want to set this on repeat and not have to think about it. That's beautiful too. If we want to do that, then let's set this to recur, because I would hate for you to accidentally set it for a one time, check it off, and then next year it does not show up for you. And you're like, hello, it's the 17th. I feel like I should be doing something. Where is my task? Okay, so quick little visual indicator there. Alrighty. Okay. Let's go ahead and wrap up from there. If there's any last minute questions, we're not going to cut you off, pop them in there. But just want to give a call out that next month, so January, which is crazy. So our first one of 2026 is going to be an Ask Us Anything. We're going to have just an open floor. We're not going to be doing a big in-depth demo that takes up 35 or 40 minutes of the call. We're just going to be asking questions. So if you come in with 1099 questions, we're all here for you. If you start to think about onboarding, or if you're hiring new team members at the beginning of next year, whatever, wherever you are in your business, hop in, ask us a question. We can help troubleshoot or brainstorm with you. So that's a more open call. When I go ahead and send out that reminder early January, we'll have a little form. If you want to pre-submit a question, you absolutely can, or you can just hop on, ask us a question live too. Really quick note, and actually helps make sure that if anybody has the same question as Nicole, that we get you answered. So if you want to rewatch this or you had to hop in late, we are going to post that recording on Friday, and you can find that on our YouTube channel. You can also register for that next call if you would like it on your calendar and want to make sure you're there for that Ask Us Anything. So short answer, yes, all the recordings are there. And if you want to go back to previous topics that we've covered before, you're absolutely welcome to go browse your little heart out. From here, we also have some free resources. So we have some PDFs. If you're like, ooh, you crack the can on like that can of worms on tags. What else can you use tags for? We've got a good amount of PDFs on our webpage. So hughesandstrong.com/double to get some freebies there as well. If this started something and you're like, ooh, I want more of this. Last thing I want to go ahead and mention is, if you are in a spot either now or as we get through 1099s and you start to take a breather, that you want additional help or support, whether that is team training all the way to I want you to set this up for me, please, and add all of my tasks and all of my tags and all of my SOPs. We have a full spectrum all the way along that, to where whether you just want to brainstorm with us, you want us to cheerlead and show your new team members double, you want a second set of eyes with a diagnostic review, you want some templates. Again, that whole spectrum of support is here to support you no matter where you land. So we are happy to help you figure out where you land as well. So don't feel like you have to know coming in what you need. If you want to just reach out at hughesandstrong.com/contact, I will make sure you get to the right place and that you know what options you have as far as support goes to make sure that you're not in this alone and you have somebody else to brainstorm with you one-on-one. But I just want to say thank you all so much for joining us. I still have to pinch myself that we get to do this and we get to nerd out every month, but especially that we get so many faces that we've seen before and so many names. So thank you all for joining us. Amazing happy holidays to you, and we will hopefully see you next year.
Thanks, everyone.